Hey, and a warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb podcast and some exclusive content for my $1 million experiment. So today I am joined by a very special guest. I'm super excited to introduce you to Karen. Karen, come and say hi. Tell us what you do in the world.
Oh, hello, and thank you for having me. I am an author, publisher, and life philosopher. So I have fun out there in the world, writing books, helping authors publish their books, go on journeys, and also share these wisdoms that I've been gifted and had fun experimenting with in life with the world. So yeah, I have fun every day, Joanna.
Beautiful.
I
I
keep those
love that.
challenges out of the way, as we go along.
I love that. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up in my world to start with, and then how I ended up in your world. So if we can start with how you ended up in my world.
Yeah. So one of my good friends and actually a publisher that I've trained, Laura Cooper, who's based here in Perth, shared your $1 million experiment. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So signed up, because it's so affordable. Like, goodness me,
Mhm,
it's just you just show up and put in the
mhm.
effort. You know what it's like. Everything's there. You just need to action it. So I showed up and was really set me up really good for the year. And that year ended up being $1 million year for me. And I didn't realize it because it wasn't until after the fact. I was just in so much flow, Joanna, that year. I was having so much fun. I was serving. I didn't know how everything was going really until
We were on
my
a
time.
podcast and we sort of discovered it. It was like, oh yeah, and that was $1 million year for me. And I was like, what?
That was it, because I reached out to you to be part of my gift and gratitude book, because I had heard about
Wow.
you chatting about appreciation before, and I was like, wow, I really want that in my gift of gratitude book. And I was in my year of gratitude then, I think that was 2022 or 23.
Mhm.
And then so I ended up interviewing you for that, and we done the book. And then we just started to connect because we vibed on the same vibe, which was it's so refreshing when you meet
So
people on the same
amazing.
level, isn't
So
it? You can just be
amazing.
yourself and stuff like that. So it was really cool. And then you came and joined us at the castle last
I
year.
did, I did. Karen very, very generously sent me a beautiful invite to come to Crom Castle, which I sat on that fence, but like, will I do this? Will I not do this? And something called so much to my soul. And I said, right, okay, I'm gonna come. And it was just incredible. I can honestly not express my gratitude for if you ever get an opportunity to come on a writing treat with Karen. Do not wait, do not pause, run towards it. It was amazing. It was so, so good. And she had brought together the most incredible group of people. And it was just, we had so much fun in the castle. It was really, really special, special, special week.
You know what it's like, Joanna, bringing amazing people together. You do
Yeah,
and there's just there's a thing that takes over,
it
and
is that
everyone gets enjoyed.
mastermind energy,
It's
isn't it?
magic.
It is.
Yes, yes.
It's that it's like the sum of all the parts becomes somehow greater than all the parts on their own. And it's so incredible. Um, and there is some magic that happens when you bring kind of like-minded people together. I think that was a big thing. So tell us about your publishing journey, because I would love to hear that, because I'm sure that there might be people who might even be in the $1 million experiment, and they might be thinking, well, maybe publishing might be my avenue, because I know there's a
Mhm.
lot of authors in our world. So tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about your journey of how that unfolded for you.
Absolutely. Well, I was an author first, Joanna. I wrote my first novel during NaNoWriMo in 2010, which is National Novel Writing Month. And I didn't know until 2 days before I was going to write that I was going to join this challenge. And I love a challenge.
Yeah.
And so I joined it, and for 30 days, I wrote 1,667 words in a novel. It ended up being called The Visitor. It was inspired by I had lost twins, and it broke my heart, and I never knew why. all the doctors were saying, just get on. And I couldn't, there was just something. And then watching The View one day, I got an epiphany and I had to share that message with the world. And I was not good at English at school. I'd never even thought I would ever write a book. But one of my friends had gifted me the belief that it was possible because she was actually writing her life story, never planning to publish it, and she never has that I know of, but she was writing to heal because she had been through a traumatic childhood. So she was writing it and she'd written 50,000 words and she had two young kids, and I had four at that time, but she instilled the belief that it was possible and she just wrote what she, so when there's the little coffee bean that kept these little coffee beans used to land everywhere whenever there was a sign. And here this coffee bean came and NaNoWriMo. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to write 1,667 words a day for 30 days and see where it goes. And then The Visitor was born, a spiritual understanding of uncertainty. And this world just grew and these characters grew and then the book ended up getting sponsored to get published. And I had a negative publishing experience, but at the beginning of the book, the quote was, "From every negative situation is the potential for a positive outcome." And so when someone asked me, could you help me publish my book? I was like, oh my God, you know what I could? Because I'm always very curious. I ask lots of questions. I have to know the facets of everything. So when I was on the publishing journey with the publisher, I turned my perspective around and said, that wasn't a bad publishing journey. That was a training that I was on. That was like, I've been kind of
How
shown the
not
way.
to
So I
do
went
it
and
as well
done
to a
some,
certain degree.
yeah.
And can it
So I
be
went and
such
did some,
importance? I say this a
yes,
lot to my students that a lot of
yes,
people get really kind of bent out of shape over this. Like sometimes it doesn't matter. Like Skylar teaches, it doesn't matter. Everything is data, right? So positive or negative, it's all data. And that
yes,
actually the things that we don't like can make us just as clear as the things that we do like and that we do know that we like. And all of it is data, and all data has the potential to propel us forward. And
yes.
so having that negative experience, you were like, okay, well, now I have a laundry list of things that I don't like experiencing, and I'm sure I'm not alone. And from that, you could birth new
Exactly.
publishing.
Yes.
I
And so
love
then it
that.
became my superpower. But one of the things that is interesting for me is my studies are not in authorship. My studies are not in publishing. My studies are in humanities. And this is what it is. I show up for story every day. The power of story is what fuels my fire because stories heal, they connect, they ignite. When someone's reading your story, you have their full attention. Books are really powerful that way. Like so that's why I show up for story, and it's such a powerful tool, and it helps people heal as they're writing, but also helps people heal who are
Yes,
reading. So it's so important. And stories coming from Ireland, there's always stories floating around, and
of
if
course.
somebody needs help, they'll come with a story and a cup of tea, and all of that kind of thing. So it was kind of in that principle because I come from Ireland, emigrated to Australia, and I was there about 2 years when I wrote my first novel. And my fourth child was 4 weeks old at the time. So I was writing with breastfeeding her and writing with the other hand. But I had this, and I just had this knowing I had to do it. So I just showed up and did it without any expectation, without any pressure, just to get to write it and get it done. And then some people read it and they were like, do you know what you've written? And I ended up reading it and I was like, did I write this? Because it
Mhm.
was just gifted to me, like it just came and flowed. And they say everyone has a book in them. And I chose fiction. Well, it chose me because I write nonfiction now, but fiction was how I was to share my story within a story. So I was one of the characters in the story. So it's I love that book so much. It's just beautiful.
It's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that you say that writing a book can be healing because that's what I felt when I wrote Get Selfish, The Way Is Through. That was my journey of how I healed, or the 7 steps that I took to heal my physical body from chronic illness and
Yeah.
from multiple organ failure and from autoimmune disease. Um, and when I came to the realization of the sort of teachings as they began flowing through me for Get Selfish, and I was on the actual journey of that, I remember being terrified that I would turn into this sort of self-centered person that, didn't really care about anybody else. And I was so terrified of putting my needs first, and things like that. And then obviously as I began to, but I was in such bad shape that if I wasn't going to put my needs first, it was that or death, really, to be dramatic.
Yes.
And so I really kind of felt like I was in a rock and a hard place. So I began to follow this wisdom that was coming through me, and I went on this get selfish journey. And when I came towards the end of that get selfish journey is when I wrote that book, Get Selfish, The Way Is
Mhm.
Through. And in a way, it feels like a testament, a document to going on that journey and learning about myself and learning to literally get myself and to understand me, and also as well to give myself that worthiness of that you are worthy to be seen and witnessed. And as I wrote that book, it wasn't really for anyone else. It was really just for myself, just for I am worthy of being seen and witnessed. And even if that is only for myself,
Yes.
it was an extremely cathartic journey of
Mm.
writing that book, and then subsequently publishing. And that
Yeah.
was also the kind of beginning of this business as well that I'm in now, which obviously has led us to meeting. So when you
Exactly.
first heard about the $1 million experiment, what was your
Yes.
first thoughts about that?
Oh, cool. This would be fun. You know.
Amazing. Was there any like, is this too good to be true? Or was it the person that introduced you? Did you have a lot of trust with them?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She was a friend. She was like, and then it was just like I'm curious by nature. So
Hmm.
and I know how to manifest. So whenever set out in publishing, I was studying the law of attraction and with Joe Vitale, and then I had obviously watched The Secret, and I don't know, and then I was like I never told anybody. I just thought I'm going to have fun with this and see what I can make happen. And I set an intention to build $1 million publishing press. And what I could invest was 50 Australian dollars a week. Then that wouldn't upset my family's budget, but that I would invest that, and whatever I would make, I would put back into it and it would grow. That was my vision. I organically let it grow. So I had already started that and I was in that process. But whenever I'd done the $1 million experiment, that was my $1 million year. I earned a million, but I spent a million too because I'm a really good spender.
I love that.
But it had my I spend really strategically for growth. So it's like investing, So I
It
suppose I'm
is
being
absolutely like 100%. It really, really is investing.
Mhm.
It's about planting those
Yes.
seeds. I think I was saying just recently that Anne Wilson had said, we don't save our way to wealth. We spend our way to wealth. And it's one of my
Yes.
favorite money quotes, because I
Yeah.
think that is it, and it is being strategic and investing in the right places and stuff like that. And also as well, allowing yourself to receive opportunities and things as well, because that's not always something that we're very good at allowing. Sometimes we're like, oh, I don't know, and things. And I know that that came up for me when you so generously asked me to be, part of Crom Castle. I was sort of fencing and thinking, oh, I don't know, and then I was like,
You have to break that cycle
I
though, because the
yeah,
flow can't happen. Money flow has to come, and you have to receive and give, receive and give. Can't just keep giving all the time. So whether it's money or whether it's opportunities or whether it's all
it's
abundant
got to be this
energy. You
beautiful
have to
flow.
keep it flowing.
It was, and it was eye-opening to me. And I had made a pact that I had realized I needed to get out more, because obviously with the pandemic, I think a lot of us became a little bit hermity. And I
Yes.
started to realize that I was almost clinging on to the walls of my own house, and I thought I need to get out more. I literally need to get out more. And here was this, and honestly, I had only just said it, and then Karen had said to me, why don't you come and have fun with
honestly.
us in Crom Castle. It
I
was
was
a bit like
divinely
that.
guided.
And
But it's
so,
funny because we experienced that differently over here. We were in Perth, Australia, where we were not allowed out of WA, but not allowed out of Western Australia. But we had no COVID, so we were hugging and we were doing meetings and we were out and about all the time. We didn't have any schools off or anything. Schools were happening, so there was no COVID in our community. It's crazy, wasn't it?
right, okay, that's so weird. We had it was lockdown was very interesting for my family because it was that period in our family where we really realized that Katie was definitely
Mhm.
autistic because she thrived during COVID, like really thrived because she didn't have
Yes.
to have the pressure of going to school. And the autism, the overstimulation was so much for her, and we didn't realize really because she was being investigated for things like stomach problems because she always had a
Yes.
sore tummy. And of
Never
course,
spoke
a
to
week into lockdown, no more sore tummies. They were a
her.
thing of the past. They were gone from that moment onwards. They were gone. And so within 2 weeks, our child had had this miraculous recovery after months and months of illness. And it was like, wow. And but it was actually, actually really, and I know that affected a lot of people and it affected a lot of people badly, but I can't help but really feel such deep gratitude. I call it
Mm.
I think of when I think of the lockdown, I think of it as the great pause. I think
Yeah.
a lot of us got to hit the pause button on very, very busy lives. And we
Yeah.
got to look around ourselves and see what's working and what's not working and also as well appreciate what was around us as well. And
Mhm.
I felt very privileged in a way during lockdown. And of course my business because of Million Dollar really that was my $1 million year as well and it really, really exploded. But it was epic on one
Yeah.
level, but I know for other people it was absolutely hanging on by the fingernails.
Yeah.
But
One of
it's
the things
weird.
I identified as well was that everyone was very present and not traveling. So everyone was very present and productive and efficient and all of those things, that when, but I was doing that for years because I
And we
was
went
have
back to like
also
really
worked.
wholesome stuff like baking.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like so many people started baking and
Yes.
making stuff and creating things. And I couldn't help but think, yeah, this is what life's supposed to be like. This is
Yes.
what it's supposed to be like. We're supposed to bake bread and we're supposed to make, I don't know how many banana loaves were made in the world during that time, but a lot. But we're supposed to do these creative endeavors, it was so much fun. But I think for me, it was a real kind of really brought home a lot of gratitude. And of course,
Mm.
that is how we discovered that you'd hit the $1 million year because you were interviewing me for your book,
Yes.
The Gifts of Gratitude. Now, that
Yes.
book is a series of books, isn't it? Because it's like you've
Yeah.
got a whole series in that called the Master Gifts series,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, I've got 7 master gifts that I lived through, which is um, mindfulness, knowing, intention, love, gratitude, forgiveness, and belief. And I was interviewing you in my gratitude year. So it actually serendipitously happened that each book had its own year in my life. I wrote them over 7 years, and I didn't realize that that was the case until I finished them because I was like, oh my goodness, I published the Mindful Magic in 2017, and oh my God, I had a year of this and a year. Forget the year of forgiveness nearly killed me, Joanna. But you know what? It was just one of those things, the realizations. But the thing was with the gratitude one, I was like, oh my God, that was the year that I had that $1 million year was whenever I done Joanna's experiment. I started my year off with Joanna's experiment. And
Oh,
it was like
amazing.
a big light bulb moment. It was
Yeah, it was
mm,
huge. It was like, holy moly.
yeah,
I
it was
think
just
when,
it was just
yeah, I mean, I just remember you going, oh my God, that was actually my $1 million year. And I was like,
yeah,
what?
whenever you
And it
forget
was
things,
epic, epic.
I was
That
like, you have to
full
capture all
gratitude.
those
I mean, if
stories.
there was ever a glowing endorsement for gratitude, that was it. isn't it? Really, if
Yes.
you look at it
Yes.
like that.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
gratitude is my favorite spiritual tool of all spiritual tools. Gratitude is definitely,
It's a
it
life
has,
hack.
is so alchemizing. It can
Yeah.
really change your life on so many levels. It can take the most bitter, difficult experiences and make them palatable. It
Yeah.
can um change you from worrying about a future that's not happened yet and anchor you into the present moment. So one
Yeah.
of my favorite ways to use gratitude to anchor yourself into the present moment, which is where the power is. I love it. And I was so over the moon to have been interviewed for that book and to have my
That's so good.
chapter
Yeah, so
featured
the
in it.
gift and gratitude is so and then whenever I had all seven books written and with I had five guests in each book, and that, to share gratitude in motion, to share whatever it was in motion, and have amazing guests. Like I had Elizabeth Gilbert in the Knowing book, and I had you in the Gratitude book. There's just so many amazing people. And then Master Gifts was born from all of the writings I did in those books. I pulled them all together into Master Gifts, permission to live fearless and on purpose. Because I realized that people say to me, "You're fearless, Karen," and I'm like, "I'm not fearless. There's no fear in knowing, because if you know yourself, there's
Yeah,
too many people leaning outside for answers when the answers are
yeah,
inside, Joanna. And you
absolutely.
lean outside for the support to make the things happen. The support's outside, but the answers are inside. And that's where you find any answer, because within us serves us 100%. Within us works for our highest purpose and serves only us. And so you're always going to be guided the right way. Sometimes it may feel like, what?
I
No.
love that.
But
So in my
you
world, we
have
call that
to,
insourcing instead of outsourcing.
yes,
Yes, you can
insourcing.
outsource and have a VA, but we should not
Mm,
be outsourcing anything like our personal dreams and our personal stuff inside. That is not an outsourcing situation. That is
you're giving your power to somebody else,
exactly,
and then you don't
exactly.
live authentically, you
And
know?
then you also struggle with self-leadership, right? Because you're
Yes.
always looking for someone else to have the answer for you, as
You're
opposed
never
to
going to feel aligned.
insourcing and having the answer for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
You,
important has self-leadership been to you?
Um, people say I'm a leader. I don't feel like a leader. I just,
You are.
but I am, but it's because I walk my own path, and I bring everyone along for the ride if they want to come. We can have fun on the journey. I'm very innovative in how I love doing things that are different, and I go, oh, I wonder would this work or one, and I'm not afraid of failure. Not everything works. So, but it does bring you on a journey. Even the failures bring you on a journey. So, and you can, everything's learning. Any challenge that you hit is a growth opportunity. It's not there to stop you. And I talk about, I read the 5 stages of the soul, and I always talk about stage 4 or stage 3 and 4, which is the struggle and the breakthrough. Everybody goes through that, but a lot of people give
Yes.
up in the struggle and retreat. If you just allow, in the struggle time, you should read books and fill your mind. In the struggle time, you should reconnect with your family and fill that cup, because whenever the breakthrough comes, you're going to need all the energy to get, because it's celebration time, it's action time. The struggle is a time for pause. It's a time to recalibrate. It's a time, but people push and don't stop to, and that's where burnout happens and stuff like that. It's an opportunity to slow, stop, and get ready for the breakthrough, not give up, retreat, and go backwards. That's
Yeah,
it's so
love that.
tragic when I see it happening, Joanna, and you do too,
I
I'm
know
sure.
as well. It does make me cringe super hard because I'm like, oh, it doesn't need to be
You're
like
so
this.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're so close and it doesn't need to be like that. And then they shrink and they pull back and 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 everybody I feel like everybody has special magic inside of them. And everybody has that's the greatest gift that we can give to this world, sharing that magic. And your magic seems to be not only to share your magic, but also as well to get everybody else to share their magic.
Yeah.
So you have got an amazing project. So after that spectacular interview of for the gifts of gratitude, I and we discover that Karen has done her $1 million year. Then life just gets busy for both of us. And then the next thing, I am looking on social media and I see these book covers and I am like, these are fire. And I thought, oh my God. And I honestly just needed to reach out to Karen and just say, whoever's doing that graphic design, oh my God, it's amazing. It's fire. Like these were giving me chills. They were like, it was a set of 8 covers. And I was just like, this is amazing. I just felt like something was potent, was brewing. So I wrote to Karen, I said, I just want to let you know, like, oh my God, the graphics are everything. So Karen says to me, you must be part of this, you must come along.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so it is the Heroes Roar series, and I have the first
Oh,
book in the Heroes Roar series here.
yay.
I am super excited for this. So this is the Lion edition. All of them feature a big cat on the front. They have nothing to do with big cats, but they do have these epic, and I mean seriously gorgeous, sexy book covers, every single one. I am going to be in the Lioness edition, which is book number 2, which is coming out after this one. So this one's out just now, book 1, as we're the time of recording this. So it's the Lion edition. They are jam-packed filled with incredible stories.
We've
So
38
tell us how
amazing
that
people in
idea
that
came
book.
about, because I mean, I feel like this is going to be on Apple TV and everything. There's so much
Yes.
happening with this.
Yes. Oh, this is a seed that just grew into a tree, honestly, Joanna. So there was I love book covers. I have a thing about book covers, and sometimes I'll just be strolling and see there was a pre-made cover, and that was the lion one, and I was like, oh, that would be awesome if it was called Heroes Roar and this, that, and the other. So I actually bought it, and that was years ago. So and then all of it, I had it in my inbox. And then I started helping lots of people. Anthologies became my superpower. I was helping so many business leaders do anthologies. I'd never done one for myself. And then I was like, oh, it was actually called Hear Me Roar. And then I called it Hear Us Roar. And then once I pulled it out and said, right, I'm going to commit to this project and get this book full and do my own anthology, then it came to me, oh, there's more than one book. And so this was going to be courage and perseverance. Then there was going to be lionesses, and then because it started to fill up so fast. And within one day, Joanna, one day we had all of the covers done. I said to Dylan, I need to get these cats. And because they all roar, so I want to get these cats, and I'm going to give them each a theme, and I want the book covers. I need them tomorrow. So, and it was done in one day. And then it was, oh my God, we need to do a docu-film and get all of these stories together. Because I had filmed for a movie that I'm in this year called Mum's Rising, I Think and Grow Rich film. So, and I kind of knew the vibe, but I also had my own vision for it. And so we interviewed a lot of people at the castle. We interviewed a lot of people in Perth recently. So we're going around the world interviewing people. And if they can't be interviewed in person, we're setting it up on Zoom. So we've got strategies because stories are powerful, and not just the books. When you actually have the visuals and get to know the author in person as well, you get to showcase and highlight and make visible these, like, so, these new kind of inspiring people. And in book 1 we've 38 people. It was only supposed to be 25, and there's 38, and like just high vibe stories. We've got stories from people who've never written before. We've got stories from entrepreneurs who've written lots of books, and I always
You got a
like to
story from my
balance.
friend Tom Smith, because that was hilarious.
Oh, you have to share that story like that. I witnessed this, and I was like, oh, that's magic right there.
So at Crom Castle, I process the world a little bit differently. So if you were in the $1 million experience the first time round, you might recognize the name Tom Smith because he was actually on our podcast. So I get down to breakfast one morning in Crom Castle, and there's no seats. There's only one seat left next to this very dapper looking gentleman. And I sit down. As soon as I sit down, because I recognize people by their energy as opposed to the way people look. So I was like, I know this energy. So I said, I think I know you. And I was like, that's not a cheesy chat up line. And he said, and he was like, oh, okay. And then we got chatting, and I said, what is it that you do? And he said, well, I'm into property. And I was like, well, no, it's not that. I said, I'm getting an entrepreneurial vibe, like more like online entrepreneur. And he was like, oh, yeah, yeah, I do that too. And then he mentioned one of his mentors, and I was like, no, 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 that's not it. And then I was like, you know what I'm really getting is a Tom Smith vibe. And he says, that's my name.
I am Tom Smith.
I
And
am.
I was like, what
That's
did
my
I do?
name. And
This
it
of
was so
course, Joanna.
hilarious because I had only met him once through the interview of the $1 million experiment. So I'd only spent like about an hour and a bit with him. And that's how I recognized him, through his energy, which is very high vibe. Tom is a high vibe person, and I recognized his energy, and that's how I could remember who he was. But it was so funny. And then I think the whole breakfast table just stopped and looked at me and was like, I can't believe you just done that.
Oh, Joanna, I could see your radar going off. I was like, oh, what's going to happen here? It
It's
was
so
like, oh, it just blew my mind because I was happened to be the other seat, the other interview. I was like, oh, this is gold.
it
Where's the
was
camera when you want one?
I know, it was so perfect. And it was so lovely to see, Tom at the castle, because he was there for a speaking gig. And and it was amazing to connect with him again. And if you'd listened to the first podcast with Tom's episode in it, he's a self-made millionaire. He's a Belfast lad. He'll tell you that through and through. And it was such a nice surprise, but it was
Gratitude is
so
such a
funny.
huge thing for him too, Joanna.
Yes,
He's
huge.
just
Yes,
so
very
humble.
much.
Mm, mm,
And we had a great actually conversation about gratitude that day as well.
mm.
And yes, he's very much on the gratitude train. I mean, that is where it's at, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? The gratitude.
Isn't it that gratitude just puts you onto that frequency of receiving? It's just that life hack. If you overthink it, you're gonna miss. But if you do gratitude, it just shifts you onto that frequency
Absolutely.
you want to be on. Changes your life in like
It
a
does.
few
It does.
days.
And it's so simple. And I think that's why people overlook it. Because one of the things that has come to me, and one of the downloads that I received, is that problems belong to the void. And the
Mm,
void, by its very nature, is complicated and complex. And
mm,
because it's complicated and complex in the void, we immediately think, because I've got big problems and they're complicated and they're complex,
mm.
I am going to need complicated solutions.
No, it's
But
not.
solutions live in a source energy, and
Mm,
solutions by their very nature are simple.
yes.
Problems are complicated. So we don't
Million
think logically
percent.
like that, right? So we don't think, oh, my problems, I'm going to need complex solutions to this, right? So then when we look at gratitude, that's why so many people discount
Mm,
gratitude, and they go, because, I can't be given a bit of gratitude. I've got big complex problems here. And I'm like,
mm.
you're missing the point, because the
You missed
solution
it.
is always
You're
going to be
overthinking
so simple.
it. Isn't it humanity though, Joanna?
Yes,
By nature,
exactly.
we make it so complicated.
We
It's
do,
like it's
because
simple.
that's where the consciousness is. It's rooted in that complex. And I think Albert Einstein said it the best when he said,
Yeah.
you are not going to undo your problems with the same thinking that
Mhm.
you use to create them.
Yes,
Source and solutions are simple,
absolutely.
problems are void aligned and complicated.
Yeah.
And once that clicked for me, I stopped looking for complex solutions and started looking at, if this was, I started asking questions like, if this was easy, what would it look like?
Yeah.
That's such a game
What,
changing
what's what's
question.
what's my perfect solution to this? What's the perfect,
Yeah, exactly.
answer to this? Just do a visualization. I remember having the most powerful visualization, but there's an opportunity I wanted, and I was going to have to turn it down because of my values. And I was like, no, but it's on my bucket list for this year. I have to do it this year. But I was going to have to, because to honor my values, I had to turn it down, and I did. And instead of going into self-pity, I said, no, I'm not going into self-pity. I'm going to go and sit. and I'm going to just be grateful for where the sun and the beautiful patio is sitting on and all that kind of stuff. And I said, what would be my ideal scenario that's values aligned? And I sat on that for 5 minutes, and I swear to God, I do not tell you word of a lie, the very next day that opportunity showed up. The very next
Like,
day. Blew my mind. I've been manifesting for a long time, but that just blew my mind. So
that's incredible.
visualizations in the energy of gratitude is super fuel. Super fuel.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing though as well is making that switch from the pity party
Yes.
to actually this is what I want.
Yes.
That's quite,
Choice.
that is mastery. That is a level of self-mastery because the go-to for many, many people is to throw the pity party and to focus on what you've lost or what you can't be part of or what passed you by or a missed opportunity or whatever. We throw that pity party and we put all the energy there. But there is something so powerful and potent of flipping and reversing it and actually going, okay, what would be the ideal scenario? Let me think about that. Let me think about what it is that I actually want. And it is shocking when we do that, how quickly what we want
Oh,
often turns up.
yes. Yes. It's amazing. Like I was like, it blew my mind, and I'm pretty open-minded and have infinite, there's no levels to what you can achieve, there's no it's and it blew my mind. I was like, wow, that's super cool. Could I do that every day?
Yes, please. More please, universe. More please, universe.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, Karen, what a journey you've been on. So what now that we are in this hero's roar, we are rocking along with an Apple TV series that's going to be all about hero's roar and these beautiful, incredible interviews. I don't know if there's any more room in your life. I'm sure you will squeeze it in somewhere, but what is your plans for the next while? Let us know. Let us into what you are unfolding. What magic are you doing in this world?
Well, this year's actually a year where I've got vastness, I call it. I'm in cruise control. So Master Gifts is on tour now. So I've got some things like there's a load of reviews hitting from the US in April. So that should really raise the vibe of that. So I'm actually recording. You weren't at my Master Gifts workshop, no, at the castle. I
No, I
done a
haven't
Master
seen that.
Gifts
No.
workshop at the castle, and it was very impromptu. It was on the schedule, but I hadn't, but I know my master gifts in and out, and I sat, and it was so divine what happened. Like the every time I mentioned the word love, because it's one of my master gifts, this light would shine on me from the window. It was like it happened so
You
much
sent
you
me the
didn't hear the
photos
word.
of that. You sent me the
It
photos. They
was
were absolutely like mind blowing.
it you could like so people started videoing it because it happened on cue. It was just bizarre. So this workshop went on for about an hour, but I went through each of my master gifts, and it was the second week of the retreat. So it was a different group, but we hosted it in the beautiful yellow or the big room with the piano, and I sat there and I just delivered my master gifts just as I know them to be, and as I felt the group needed to hear and got actionable, and those profound experiences that happened for everyone there, and shifts and stuff. And I was like, wow, like these master gifts were gifted to me, and I've lived through them for years, and all of that. And yes, yeah, I have rough years, and but if you're going to be learning and growing, you're going to go with through ebbs and flows, and that's fine. But it's what's on the inside and how you deal with things and how you show up and how you talked about being selfish. Like you have to, do you first so that you can give the best of yourself to others.
Absolutely.
And so that's and like last year was my toughest year ever in life. My daughter
Yeah,
had
you had
health
a lot
problems,
of
family
challenges
stuff. Yeah, there was a
last
lot
year
of
as
stuff, and
well.
my mama heart was broken, and being a mum, and that's one of my highest values. And so, but I still showed up and still enjoyed it and filled my cup that way. So the retreat was as much of a retreat for me as it was for everyone else. But the master gifts was so profound. So I'm doing a course to go along with the book. And then here at Roar,
Okay.
we're going to South Australia next month. We're in London at the Women Changing the World events in
I'm going to be there
NME.
too. Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be amazing. So I can film you there. And then, so wherever we are, we're going to be doing a feature, getting photography and getting videography of all of our Heroes Roar participants. And we want stories from everywhere, but I have to meet with everyone because I'm very precious about who's in it. Everyone has to be energetically aligned because it's a beautiful community that we're building. We have 114 people in the project already, and like that's 114 stories going out into the world to find the hearts and minds of the people that need to read them. And that's going to shift and have a beautiful ripple effect. You know, it's just going to be magnificent. Then we're going to Melbourne, Sydney, and New York. We're going to do in New York Times Square at the end of the year in November. We're doing the Heroes Roar and Master Gifts. We're taking out billboards and we're going to be there and do all that fun stuff. So nice
Amazing.
visibility and impact. Yes, it's going to be fun.
It is. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. This lady literally never lets the grass grow underneath her feet. It is always something amazing, epic, incredible. But she always gives you the impression that I always get the impression from you, Karen, that you do everything in ease, joy, and flow, which is so beautiful
Yeah.
and very rare because there is a lot of hustlers out there who are hustling hard in life. And it's
Mm,
not really how I roll at all. And it's something that I have a bit of an aversion to. So I do try
mm,
and avoid that at all costs. And it is, and even through the challenges and you were telling me of last year, some of the challenges that you were facing,
mm,
both, on a personal level and things, I was just admire how much grace that you walk with these. And I think that is a testament
mm,
to your master gifts of being insourced. It gives you that core, that inner core of strength.
mm,
Um, and it's about knowing yourself, and that's what Get Selfish is about for me. That whole process that I went through is about knowing myself. I
yes.
think for you, it's almost like we received the same downloads. You
Yes.
said it in your way, I said it in my way, and this is
Mm,
something that I really love because you are the beginning and the end of everything that you do,
yes. Mhm,
and it all begins and ends with you. And when that core inside you is strong,
mm.
she can do her worst some days.
But you can see it
But
being from you, you know, you can fit
absolutely.
people attract to it because they're energized by it. And we're, you
Yeah.
know, and we know how to protect it for ourselves, keep it so that we can keep recharging, and
Yeah.
it's so precious and people don't understand that everybody can have it. Everybody
Yes.
can have it
It
if we have the
creates
courage to go with
magnetism. I mean, it's
yes,
basically it creates your magnetism. And
yes.
it is, and you have attracted so many incredible people and authors into
Yeah.
your world as well, and worked with some incredible
Mm.
people, which is amazing.
How
Um,
blessed am I be for people to come and share those stories with me, like I feel
oh,
like I'm this gatekeeper of stories, some that I can't tell yet. But
I'm
it's such a
excited.
privilege.
It
It's
is.
such a privilege. And people say to me, God, you must, like, I am a mom of six as well, Joanna, and very present, and two who are now adults. Woohoo! But most of the days I'm here where I am. It's nighttime here at the minute. It's quite late, but usually I'm here and I'm looking at the beach and blue skies and it's beautiful. And we have parachuters land on the beach in front of us, make me smile every day. I love it. And just things like that, so it doesn't have to be big and brash and always doing things,
No,
which I love.
exactly.
I love doing all of that. I also have the balance of the beautiful, slow, quiet, cruisy times. Most of the year, out of 365 days, 350 of them I'm here, so, but the things that we do are so high vibe and bringing people together, like the people that come together in these projects, it's just it's just phenomenal, and then for it to ripple from them out to the people that are around them, the impact then becomes greater. It's beautiful.
Oh, amazing. We can
Mhm.
chat forever, but
Yes.
tell people where they can find you online. Let them discover you and how amazing you are, and even get involved with some of the projects if it's an
Yeah.
alignment, right?
Yeah,
So
there's
tell
lots of
people where they can
content,
find
free
you.
content on my website. I actually put together a website for people because I was hanging about sharing my other websites, but it's www.kpwofficial.com. I've got a load of 3 TED Talks in there, some other videos you can watch, my Nexosphere talks in there. There's some free meditation. I call them mindful moments and things like that. You check out, I've authored over 40 books there and there, you know, all the things. But just come and vibe and chat and hopefully be inspired, because you know, if anything I've done, anyone can do. You just need to want it enough, and tap into that energy and go and flow for it. Because when you're in flow and when you do things with loving intention, that's when they happen at super speed, and you'll magnetize the opportunities and inspired thoughts to make them happen.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So we're going to make sure all those links are below, so it makes it super easy to find Karen. And thank you so much for coming to the podcast today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.